Hi guys, my name is Dino Sanchez. I'm the owner and operator of Dino Style Customs Pinstriping and Airbrushing. I'm based out of Casa Grande, Arizona. My background is I'm a second gen. My dad was actually a pinstriper, dabbled in custom paint, and he's still doing it to this day in California. I moved to Arizona, back to Arizona. I was born in Casa Grande. Moved back to Arizona in 2005 to be with family, and it's been great, ever since then. That's when I started my individual custom painting and pinstriping career. My main staple is pinstriping. However, I do murals, I do sign painting, lettering, graphics, things of that sort, as they come, or as I feel the need to not get so bored over one or the other. Anyhow, my biggest passion through this whole 15 years that I've been doing this on my own is to try to give back to the community. And one of the ways I've done that is by reviving some of the old techniques that have been around since the 50s, when custom paint started. One of my biggest influences, like the majority of other people, is people are like Larry Watson, Bill Carter, obviously, and you got Art Himsel, Gene Winfield. All these guys have amazing history, and they've contributed and left their mark in the industry. And I'd like to do that, or just to keep that alive. One of my hashtags I throw on a lot of my videos is keeping traditions alive, because technology is great, but in moving forward, we kind of forget what the history is, and we lose a lot of the techniques that are no longer available, because things progress, but some things are better back in the day than they were, and than they are now, and that's what I want to show you right now. This is Mylar, in the fact that it's just a flat item. There's nothing different about it, from the majority of other stuff out in the market, and it's only reflective, whereas this material right here, being organic, is actually a 3D object. It is not flat. It has many different surfaces of which to refract the light. The light goes in and comes out a different angle. And so you're going to get a prismatic effect like you would with a crystal, in the sunlight. That isn't evident until you actually clear it, though. And I'll show you an example of that later on. So I just want you to see how much different it is. Pouring it out. It has a lot of shine, and that was my go-to, for the longest time. It's so easy to shoot, and that's a good thing, and that's why technology, I was saying, it progressed, because this is an easier item to shoot, but it doesn't have the payoff of the actual crushed glass that I'm going to show you. So let's put that back in here. Now, here's the difference. You saw that pour out. Look how this pours out. You can actually hear it hitting the glove and making a sound. The dance on this, I think, is a lot quicker, a lot more flicker, and you'll see from every angle, just the sudden movement hits that much harder. Now these are custom blends, because crushed glass does not come in sizes. This right here is a standard 0.15, whereas crushed glass comes in grits. And this right here is a mixture of 100 grit and 80 grit. I like doing that because my technique is that the payoff is better when you actually use two different grits, because you're going to get two different dances, so that therefore you get more motion. Got the two different mixes here, the custom mixes, which are consistent of 4 different grits. Right here is the 100 grit combined with the 80, and this is the 90 combined with the 70. And the reason why I have that is because this is what you want to build your coverage with, whereas this right here is what you want to get your dance with. This will dance on its own perfectly fine. However, I like to get that extra quality of dance in there that you can only get with crushed glass, and it makes all the difference in the world. Now let's pour this one out and you can see the difference on the sizes. You can see the reflectivity off of that, or the refraction I should say. Now the sizes are definitely bigger. And you can see that they are an organic material. You know, there's shards here and there. Like I said, they look like broken windows. So yes, that's not a meth reference. So now that we got those established, I'm going to show you the difference on a spray out on two different test panels, and you can see how the application between the two compare. Okay, now we got these two test panels out that I prepped already, and all they have is a silver base on them. Some people like to spray over a black base to get that rich, deep look, you know, in their flake. And they also can, in that manner, you can see exactly if you're going for 100% coverage where your light spots are. I like to shoot over a silver because even if you do have a light spot, it's not going to show that much. But you know, typically the way we're spraying right now, you'll see it either way. So what we're going to utilize is since we're doing the dry spray method, we're going to use the Flake King. You know, there are other ones out there. People make their own and everything, but I got a Flake King, and that's what we're going to utilize today. I poured off some of the Mylar flake into this jar, attaching it on the bottom. And the way you use the Flake King, and what I like to use about the Flake King, and if you're going to use this dry spray method, if you have a homemade gun, always try to fit a regulator on here, because what you're wanting to do is adjust the air coming out of here, so the velocity of the flake coming out doesn't just fly everywhere, because you're not trying to sandblast. Because literally, what is glass? You know, what is crushed glass? It's sand. You know, how do you make sand? I mean, a glass. You melt sand. So we're not trying that with these panels. We're just trying to get the flake to land on it and stick. That's our goal today. So with the Flake King, just to give you the rundown how this one works, you got a adjustment right here, so that way if you want it to go with the flow, and that way the flake's always at the bottom because it's weighted, you'll have that even distribution all the way through, so you don't have to worry about once you set it up and tune it, and it's not going to get out of tune that way. There's also on the Flake King, what's unique about this as compared to all the other ones that have come out, you got an adjustment so that way you can control by moving this ball valve how much flake, or in our case, crushed glass is going to be exiting the chamber to spray out. But this right here is the velocity of how it's going to come out. It's almost like shooting, a regular gun. You're going to have your choke back and you're going to have your fan pattern, and that's what we're doing here. Which, by the way, these do come with the fan, but since we're shooting something smaller here, you're not going to need that. Okay, getting ready to shoot the panels. I wanted to go over some of the possibilities with clears you can use. A lot of people, as far as clears are concerned, they like using the urethanes. This is just a basic 2-to-1. High solids are preferable, but it depends on what you have to work with. I mean, what you prefer to work with. One will build up a little bit slower than the other, but just make sure that in between coats that you're letting that stuff gas out and purge out, and you don't want to shoot too wet over the other, because then you deal with solvent pop and things like that. Those are just the basics. Now water base, I'm a Creatix guy. Love Creatix, been using it since '93, and it's my go-to. For the purpose of this video, we're going to be using the speed of urethane, but I just wanted to show you the options. If you're going to use Creatix products, UVLS clear is amazing. That stuff's the reason why I'm recommending it is because it stays wet for a long time, and that's what you're going to want. You're going to want something that's going to grab the flake or the crushed glass as soon as it touches it, because you don't want that stuff just flying off the panel, because that defeats the purpose. But in doing so, you make sure you use the 4011. There is 4020, there is 4012, but those are meant to speed up the drying process because they have some acetone in it, or more acetone than actually the 4011 does, and this will stay wet longer. 4004 is an option. It's a transparent base. It's basically the binder that most of the Creatix line comes with, and that's an excellent flake carrier as well. There's also the automotive sealers. That dries too quick though, so I don't recommend it for this purpose. And then there's a 4030. I've done in the past where I've mixed 5050 4004 with the other 4030 and used 4011 with great results, but this is what I'm recommending going forward, because this is a better product for the situation, because it lays out wet and it stays wet longer. Some of you are probably wondering, how about intercoat? How does that work? If you've utilized intercoat in the past, you'll know that it does stay wet. A lot of people use it as an excellent flake carrier. It has quick dry properties though, and that's why I don't recommend it for this purpose, because using this dry spray technique, you want the clear to stay tacky. You need it to stay wet so that way it'll bind. Like I said, once again, it needs to catch these broken windows. It needs to catch them. So yeah, SG100 great, SG150 great, as well as a flake carrier and a pearl carrier and stuff. But in the dry spray method, I don't recommend this. Okay, that was it. Pretty much full coverage, pretty quick. Had to do a few passes. I'd rather do more passes than to try to get full coverage in like the first two. I mean, I've seen people, do it with success. I'd rather build on it so that way you don't have to worry about, said solvent pop and things of that sort, or runs. Yeah, we're working on a flat surface here, so gravity's in our favor, and gravity is going to play a factor also with the crushed glass, and you'll see what I'm talking about when we start to shoot it. Okay, we're back. This is a different panel. I'm doing it in this fashion so that way we speed up the process. This is Mylar flake as the base. When we shoot the crushed glass, it's going to go right over the top of it, so it's like in essence shooting a silver base, so that way you get quicker coverage. So we're going to do the Mylar base, and then we're going to shoot the crushed glass on top of it. So the difference you'll see is that I have eye protection on, and I'm going to be wearing a respirator. I recommend it all the time, even with Mylar. However, crushed glass, you don't want that in your lungs, and you'll also notice that if you're shooting it at too high a PSI, it'll ricochet, and you don't want that coming back at you, breathing it in or getting into your eyes. So protective gear, respirator, safety glasses, PPE is essential. So I'm going to put this on, and then we'll start spraying. Guys, at this stage, what I've done is we've already had the Mylar flake base, and then I went over it with two passes of the 180 grit 50-50 mix to get the majority of it full covered. Covered very well, pretty quick. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go on to the mix that's 80 grit, no, excuse me, 90 grit mixed with 70 grit to get that really cool hardcore dance, because you're going to have all those different sizes. So you're going to have, like I said, the different refractions that are going to make this stuff really shimmer. So that's what we're going to do next. Okay, I literally just shot one pass of the 90 and 70 grit mix, and you can tell that the overspray and the amount of crushed glass didn't travel nowhere near as far as the Mylar flake. Mylar is light, it's a plastic, it's just gonna sit there, and anybody that shot flake for any period of time will know that that stuff stays in the air, it just floats. Whereas you're literally shooting crushed glass, it's the equivalent in weight with sand. So this stuff wants to fall, so you're gonna have to really be mindful of that when you're shooting like something vertical, because gravity's gonna want to fight you on that. So you might want to tweak up your PSI, use the fan additions on these, the attachments, to get you a wider pattern for more coverage. But you can see how much I'm sweeping up on the side isn't nowhere near as much as the Mylar. But like the Mylar, you can also recover a lot of your crushed glass. And you're going to want to do that because crushed glass, like I said, is not as cheap as Mylar, because this stuff right here is made by artisans in Germany and imported to the United States. It's actually a silver coated glass, and that's the other thing that you're going to have. Silver does tarnish after time, even if it's cleared, if you've never touched it, whatever. But it gives it that vintage look that you're looking for. Okay, so we're done with that, and now we got the two to compare to each other. This is the Mylar, this is the crushed glass. They don't have 100% coverage and clear as far as burying them and then the cutting and buffing, so you're not going to actually see the benefits of the crushed glass. Behind me though, I've had skateboards that I've done with Mylar and splinter flake, rainbow flake, diamond flake, things of that sort. But I also have a crushed glass board that I've done, and it's completely covered in clear, and you'll be able to see the reflectivity or the refraction that you just can't get from Mylar flake. Okay, this is the crushed glass. This right here is the Mylar flake. This also has splinter flake in it. That's a rainbow, and you can see it through the candies. This is Mylar once again. It also has diamond prism flakes, and it's square cut. This is the crushed glass once again. Haven't put candies over it, but you can see the difference even with the shine between the two. Reflection, refraction. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions regarding any of the techniques or the products with the crushed glass, feel free to contact me on Instagram at Dino Style, DINOSSTYLE, and I have it.